Hello and welcome to 10 Minutes That Can Change Your Life. This program is brought to you each week by the Port Huron Church of Christ, located at 756 17th Street, right here in the city of Port Huron. Hey, have you been following us for some time? We want you to know that we really appreciate your support. And if you have been enjoying this program, would you please do us a favor and share it with your friends on Facebook? And for that, we give you 2 thumbs up. So, we have been talking about Romans 6:23 for some time now, and we looked at different aspects of it, and we talked about the gift of God. We went back and looked at who God was. We thought we would consider the giver. And then we looked at the gift, and we're trying to understand fully the nature of this gift. What makes it so special? And if you recall, we talked last week about this special condition that I use as an example with the COVID-19 for the virus, with this vaccine, this vaccination that you can get that will keep you from getting the virus. And in our example that we conjured up, it would also keep you from dying, because in our example, you died from the virus. I ended last week with a thought. And this is where we want to pick this up, and then we're going to translate this COVID thought into our discussion that we're having in Romans 6:23. And that thought is this: the only way that you could enjoy the benefits of my vaccination that I offered you is to receive it. Once I initially said, here, I am willing to give this to you, then it's incumbent upon you to either accept it or reject it. Now, in doing so, you had to do some quick math and say, okay, this thing that this guy is giving me, is it good for me or is it bad for me? This thing that this guy is offering me, do I trust him? I'm taking something into my body which I'm unsure of what it is, because he really hasn't gone into detail, great detail rather, and really explained in a way that I can understand it exactly what he has designed and conjured up here. But all I know is that he says it works, and that he's selling it for a lot of money to some very rich people. And on the basis of that, I think I would be wise to accept it, because if he's selling it to rich people who could sue him for it not working, then that must mean it does work, and he has confidence it works, so it must be good for me. You can reason that out pretty easily. Now, let's take that thought and apply it now to this situation with God that we've been talking about. Because God now, as I said, is the giver of the gift. And because he has given the gift, now, again, here we are at the same place. You have to decide. You have to either accept it or reject it. 2 decisions. You're going to either decide, yes, I want to do this, or no, I don't. What we have not talked about is the how to accept it. And that's what we're going to get into today. And we're going to maybe have to go through this over the course of 2 or 3 weeks to really get a firm handle on how this accepting happens, so that you can have a full understanding of what God is asking of you. Right now, it's a decision. That's where you stand right now. You have to make a decision for yourself if this gift is worth having. So, in order to do that now, you have to say, I don't know if I really trust him enough to have this gift, to accept this gift. And what would this gift, if I did accept it, what would it do for my life? How would my life now change? Does my life change? There's 1,000 questions that need to be answered, and that's what I want to help you walk through on this journey today. We're going to begin a new journey, and that's understanding how to accept a gift and what it does to your life so that you can make a decision if this is the right choice for you. Now, I'll start here at the outset and say this. God feels it is, okay? If he didn't feel this was the best thing for your life, he wouldn't have offered to you what he is. But the issue is, what do you think? And that's where it all began. So when we look at this situation now, we have to ask ourselves, what is God trying to do? What is the purpose here of offering the gift? And it's very simply this. Remember what I told you in Genesis 3 when man messed up. And then I told you last week that we inherited the DNA from Adam and Eve we have their nature in us. And left to ourselves, we kind of do some bad things as well. And when I say bad, I mean bad, especially in the eyes of a holy and righteous God. Maybe sometimes not bad in the minds of humanity, because we accept certain faults in humans that we don't think anything about. No one thinks about, and this is my favorite, a guy or a person going 1 mile over the speed limit. But technically, in the eyes of a holy and righteous God, it's a sin because you have broken the law. The law says the maximum speed is 35, and if you're going 36, technically you're speeding. Now, we both know that no police officer in his right mind is going to stop you, come up to your window and say, I'm giving you a ticket for 1 mile over the speed limit. They just don't do that. It's almost not worth their time and effort. But in the eyes of God, it's a different situation. It's a different story. Technically, we have sinned. And that's what sin is. It's transgressing the law of God. And we do that in many ways. I kind of touched on that last week. But, when we cheat someone, that's transgressing the law. That's sin. If you take something that doesn't belong to you, even if it's on the ground, it belonged to someone, but it didn't belong to you, that can be considered sinning. If you lie to someone or deceive them, that's a sin. Wow. Now, it gets a little bit greater than that. If you say something that you shouldn't say, and you know that what you said and the way you said it was wrong, again, it's a sin. You see what I'm saying? It's very hard for us. No, it's impossible for us to go through life, to go a day. You may even be hard-pressed to go an hour. Why don't you do that? As just a test to see just the nature of what I'm saying, how true it is. I want you to try to go 1 hour without sinning. Now, let me give you the parameters of this test, and then you go ahead and execute it and figure out for yourself how you did. By action, you cannot do anything that God would see to be wrong: lying, cheating, any sexual immorality, stealing, bad language, those types of things. But wait a minute, there's a little bit more to this, because that could be a little easy. You could consciously sit and think and make yourself not do something that you really want to do for an hour. But here's where it gets complicated. He also deals with what you're thinking. Did you realize that? Yeah. It's not just your actions, it's your thoughts. So if you are thinking about a person and you have a bad thought about them, maybe you're upset with them and you get a thought that you want to jump on them and fix the situation with these, that's a sin. Because Jesus said the sins that we commit are not only external, but they begin in our heart. And the reason for that is simple. Everything that we do stems from our intellect, our mind that says, I want to do this. So if you're going to rob a bank, You're going to think about and plan to rob the bank before you physically do it. If you have any brains at all, actually. Let's qualify that. Robbing a bank today is not very smart. And the likelihood of getting caught is very high. So that probably wasn't the greatest example because you probably would get caught. But I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, you at least try to think about how you could do it successfully. And that's with anything that we do. We try to think about how we can do it successfully without getting caught. And so in this particular instance here, you have to think about how you're going to plan this. And that's where it starts, in your mind. So God is telling us in our minds that when you think a thing, it's just as bad as doing it. Okay? So when you try to do that, you're going to find it very difficult not to sin. And that's what our struggle is when we come to that. So now, that's what we're going to leave you today. Gosh, we run out of time already. This is so quick. 10 minutes isn't very long. But I want you to do that for next week. And then we're going to proceed from here and just really try to understand the nature of this gift and why it's necessary, why it's important, and why it's such a great gift. But until then, I want to thank you for joining me this morning. I know we didn't quite get where I wanted us to get to, but I think it's necessary. It's really important that you understand your inability to do and to act in a way that pleases God without Jesus involved in your life. And as I said, you're going to find it's virtually impossible. And when you understand the nature and the impossibility of this, suddenly the gift, the value of the gift will become much greater. So until then, until next week, do your homework, 1 hour, sit there, try not to do anything wrong. That also includes what you watch. So if you're going to watch TV for an hour and say, you know what, I'll just watch that, then you got to be careful what you watch because you can sin that way too. So you're going to find that this is a great challenge. And that's just 1 hour. What happens when we talk about 24 hours? That's only one day. What happens when we talk about 7 days? That's just 1 week. What happens when we talk about 30 days? That's just 1 month. What happens when we talk about 12 months? That's only 1 year. You're going to live longer than a year. You see what I'm saying? The longer this goes, the more impossible it is to do. And that's my point. So we'll see you right here next week. Same place, same time. Looking forward to you passing the test, but knowing that you probably won't. But at least try. Until then, God bless you, and we'll see you next week.